Hello my friends, fantastic day, fantastic news. Ukraine has launched one of the biggest strikes on Russian Federation, targeting lots of the infrastructure on territory. There are also record long-range strikes we're gonna speak about in this video, but also we're gonna review front lines and political news coming. So bear with me and let's go. So Yaroslavsky refinery, which is one of the biggest ones in Russia, was hit yesterday. It stopped its operation because of the fire happening.
НПЗ горит.
NPZ means oil refinery on fire. We have multiple of the videos, confirmations from the people who live in the multi-story buildings. Literally a jump scare. Come on, what happened, Russians? What happened? Why are you afraid of the special military operation? It may go not just on territory of Ukraine, as you see. 4 years of war already, and somehow they're surprised. This is the refinery from Yaroslavl, close by perspective. Couple of the strikes were there at least. Locals report facilities temporarily disabled. By the way, Ukraine also aimed towards Sevastopol. Yesterday there were multiple of the ground kabooms registered. The Russian air defense was in operation, but it wasn't capable to shut down all of the projectiles. Now I'm still waiting for the information of what particularly was hit out there. Well, still there are some of the military ships of the Russian Navy. Those could be the targets for Ukraine easily, and we have also our correspondent from the place.
Чё, как там? Анкоридж, блять.
Some of the Russian soldiers record the video. On the background I may hear the Russian air defense. Tra-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. He asks about Anchorage, like, how about Anchorage? Maybe that's the question to Putin.
Там на Валдае как, безопасно?
Is it safe on Valdai? And Valdai is the Putin's residency. Putin, by the way, tried to blame Ukraine for attacking his residency in Valdai. It happened like 3 months ago, but no one believed in that.
В Севастополь приезжайте, блять.
Come to Sevastopol, he say. Yeah, he will not do it, Putin. He's so much afraid for his own life, and he cannot even get close to the front lines. Not any close. Like Zelensky, remember his, I would say, stunt in Kupiansk. It was really risky for him to appear there, but it boosted up morale. In Sevastopol we have something, some of the ground kaboom, but what is actually there, no one tells. My friends, just a short reminder, please don't forget to press like to this video and subscribe to the channel. It is really important. And also, if you can, you may follow me on Patreon. The link for my Patreon is in the video description right below, or you may join the membership of the channel by pressing button join. Thank you so much for your kind support. My friends, let's continue with the video. Some of the multi-story building was hit in Yekaterinburg. Well, maybe it was miscalculation of the drone operators, maybe it was the Russian air defense, but here some of the apartment was hit, no one was hurt. What is interesting, that Yekaterinburg, this place, is roughly 1,800 kilometers away from Ukraine, which makes it the record strike for Ukrainian drones. And drones, they're not flying straight forward from point A to point B, the shortest possible route. No, Ukrainian drones, they maneuver. The Ukrainian intelligence receives the information about Russian air defense, so drones overfly those points, which makes the general distance to reach Yekaterinburg is around 2,000 kilometers for the drone. It is outstanding, and it is, I would say, just the beginning for very long Ukrainian drone operations. Yeah, if you want to know where is Yekaterinburg, so here is Ukraine, we need to go to Kazan, that's Tatarstan, and here is Yekaterinburg, so it's behind Ural Mountains, very far away. So previous drone strikes were happened in Ufa, for example. Further than Ufa, Ukrainian drones were not spotted, and now it's Yekaterinburg, a big Russian city further away. Next after it is Tyumen. I was, by the way, flying in Tyumen in 2009, before the war in Ukraine, before Crimea occupation. I went through the line training to the Roshchina airport. This is the airport, and yeah, it was our base for 3 months of the training. Right after I got my ATR rating, there should be a line training program, so I done it here, and I've flown like all around this region, including Salihard, very north part of it, also Novosibirsk, so I know the area and how people live there. It was kind of interesting experience for me, which happened very long time ago. Okay, it seems like I know why there were no any casualties, because the strike happened very early morning, and it's the office building. It's not the residential one where people live, at least according to initial information, and the drone probably was flying really low and hit the target, or maybe it was shot down. But what's about one of the biggest Russian oil ports in the Black Sea? It's called Tuapse. Well, after a couple of the strikes, the fire there was extinguished, and now we may see the damage done to this entire facility. And just look at this image, probably taken from the airplane, which is flying to Sochi. Well, the damage done to ecology is great. It's the local ecological disaster, but Ukraine doesn't have the other chance of how to apply kinetic sanctions and not letting Russia to obtain enough funds to fuel its military. The lives of Ukrainian civilians and the Ukrainian soldiers really depend on the sanctions. If European Union and the United States hesitate to really halt Russian oil export, the only solution for Ukraine is to make it kinetic. Unfortunately, but it works as we see. Here we go after the smoke. I'm gonna lower my image here. You see that multiple of the oil tanks, they're just been wrecked. The port infrastructure is damaged so much that it is no longer functional. Also, equipment has been damaged. Some of the tubes, local pumping stations, lots of the stuff. But at the same time, we see that the smaller tanks, they were not damaged, and Ukraine has more options for long-range strikes with Tuapse to disable it completely. Well, I would wait. I would wait for Russians to repair and later on strike again, for them to use money for those repairs from the budget, which could have been spent for their military. Here's the analysis done. Still, there are many of the tanks which are being intact. Maybe they were empty at the other part. That's why Ukraine is concentrated mostly on the bigger tanks. The bigger tanks means the big fire which could spread. And just to recall, Ukraine has started those strikes for several months, since August the last year. Before August they were occasional, here and there, some of the refineries sometimes, but August was a turning point for Ukraine. Why was it like that? Maybe Ukrainian officials understood that they are no longer dependent that much on the United States help, because it is not coming anyways, and what the United States does is just selling weapons to European partners, and it will continue to be like that. So there is no leverage from the United States to say to Ukraine, okay, stop hurting Russian oil infrastructure or something, because till this day there are some of the companies, by the way, associated with Davydov, that continue to cooperate with the Russian oil sector. Well, it seems like after all Ukraine doesn't care that much, so the strikes on the Russian oil infrastructure will continue. The last months plus this one were really devastating towards the Russian oil infrastructure. Russia lost nearly 50% of the export capabilities because four of the key ports were hit. In Baltics, it's Primorsk and Ust-Luga, in the Black Sea, Novorossiysk and Tuapse. The Russian firemen filmed a clip about Tuapse fire extinguishing operation, or how they just participated there, because it's almost impossible to extinguish the fire just with water, the fire of that size. Nevertheless, they tried. There is the Rammstein music playing on the background, really fits it, but I cannot play it on my videos. Sorry. And I shared it on Telegram channel as well. It was a very devastating strike for the Russian oil export. I guess they filmed it after the first strike, because after the second one, more of those oil tanks, they are gone. And the local Panzer S-1 air defense system of Russia is hitting some of the residential buildings. They do not care where to shut down those drones over buildings, civilian infrastructure, or open field. Just shut them down, and there were many of the occasions already that those missiles were found in apartments. Yeah, this is very close, but that's how Russians are trying to shut down Ukrainian drones, sometimes successfully, sometimes. And the Ukrainian military confirmed officially that they've hit a Russian Yaroslavsky oil refinery and multiple of the radars and air defense systems of the Russian Federation the last night. In Sevastopol, I'm still waiting for the information about what was particularly kaboomed there, because locals report about multiple of the strikes. Right, now let's check out the front lines. What is interesting for me is the situation in Konstantinivka direction. It is still the hot one, and according to the recent reports, Ukraine went on a small counterattack in one of the southeastern outskirts. Yeah, let's switch to this data with arrows from my coast. The same analysis whom I really recommend, and you may find the link for his social media in the video description below, and there you may find the link for this map. So you may see that Russia is attacking with small forces, small groups, but every time Ukraine is stopping those Russian attacks. Here drone here. Drone, it means that Russians were cancelled on the way, and here is the place for Ukrainian counterattack. A small one, and Russia also met Ukrainian advancement with artillery fire. Whether this advancement is done with the help of the drones only, it's hard to say, but here Ukrainian infantry was spotted in one of the districts, which is very close to the front lines and is now in a gray zone. So Russia intensifies the actions, but without visible success. They are going, but for example, here Russian positions in Konstantinovka were bombed with vampire drone. So we have the compilation from one of the Ukrainian drone units. They're all the way publishing everything in the internet, and for our guys it's very important to have this video confirmation. That's how they obtain points for key Russian soldiers, demolished vehicles, motorcycles, and so on. Let's go to the south, Pokrovsk direction, where Russians try to reach some of the Ukrainian positions with the help of the usual cars. Russians assaulted on Lada vehicle. It's the usual story. We have the compilation again of Ukrainian job there. Where is it? Well, I found the Lada maybe here. Here and there Russia tries to take the ground, and we have this video. It's available on one of the Ukrainian military channels. This is the Russian attack in Kalinivka village of Donetsk Oblast, which is not that far away from Pokrovsk, I think. Motorcycles, which were met with Ukrainian fire. Yeah, Ukraine does it with the help of the FPV drones. Russian motorcycles cannot cope with that, as well as the Russian soldiers who opened the fire against the drones, but still there is no robust tool of how to deal with FPV drones other than to jam or cut communication for them, but it's not happening in Russia. They have the electronic warfare, but usually it doesn't help. So the Russian motorcycle army was kaboomed on the way. One motorcycle, and there's the other one. Infantry is gone too. As you see, the weather is getting better, the soil is not that dirty, so Russians may go across the fields through the field roads on their motorbikes easily. As for the Donetsk Oblast, I think that the most vulnerable direction for Ukraine is Siversk direction. Siversk was occupied by Russia before, and now they try to offense, I would say partially successfully, towards Alexandrivka. And Ukrainian defense, unfortunately, here is not that robust. Here Ukraine lost one of the vehicles around 1 week ago, and Russians will move, I think, before reaching this river. This is really the start of Ukrainian main defense before Kramatorsk and Slavansk, so this year Russia will move towards it, and maybe in a couple next years there will be the fight for Slavansk and Kramatorsk, as it is happening right now for Konstantinovka. Yeah, of course, Russians would like to bypass everything of that, like they did the last year, but their attack was cancelled. They tried to go to Dobropila, Zoloty Kolodets. Actually, they moved by 17 kilometers per 3 days, but now Ukraine expects that scenario, and this encirclement of Donbass from Pokrovsk direction will not happen, I'm sure about it. So Russians are forced to go straight forward with heavy losses. Right here we have the footage of Ukrainian Special Forces, Group Alpha. They're the part of Ukrainian, I think, SBU. They were storming one of the villages in the Kharkiv direction. They took it under control. Russians tried to cross the border to enter the village before. Well, here Ukraine sent very capable forces to counteract to that Russian attack, and the Ukrainian counterattack was very well successful. Several of the Russian soldiers were captured. A unique operation was done by the 60th Separate Motorized Brigade of the 3rd Army Corps of Ukrainian Army. They evacuated a civilian Babushka, or Babusa if we speak on Ukrainian. So evacuation was done without any sort of Ukrainian infantry personnel. It was done just with the help of the aero drones that provide surveillance information and ground drones as well. Here you may see the operator of the ground drone. The drone is small, but it is delivering supplies usually for Ukrainian soldiers. And it is going to take Babusa or Babushka away. Here is Babusa. The main idea was to inform her that it's not a threat, that she should get inside. Well, some of the ground unmanned vehicles, they are equipped with the speakers, but here soldiers, they wrote on a drone that Babusa Sidai, so Grandma, please sit on that vehicle and you'll be delivered back. That is how our guys evacuate civilians from the front lines, and luckily She's okay. Luckily, she was delivered to Ukrainian controlled territory, to Ukrainian positions. She was living in a gray area for a very long time, but her house was completely demolished, and Ukrainians organized this evacuation operation. Well, I just hope that she has some of the relatives, because she didn't take anything, just those sticks, which helped her to walk. That's it, nothing more. No any bags. Oh, the small bag with documents probably. That's it. And our guys were like telling, we need to go, we need to go, we need to go, because there are drones flying. But of course she's been disabled, I guess, and she was taken to the hideout of Ukrainian soldiers somewhere in a blurred. Oh, there is also a civilian who is helping her there, and later on she was delivered with the armored vehicle further behind the front lines for safe place. So thank you, our defenders who take care about locals. That's what they do. They take care about those. Yeah, the war is freaking hell. And those are the Russian soldiers on crutches. Yes, and more videos were received how Russians mobilized their wounded personnel. If they may walk even with those sticks, they're thrown to the front lines. It is happening regularly. They're gathered and were sent back to fight, or at least to walk some distance to place Russian flag, and it's one-way ticket for them. Commander of Ukrainian drone army Magyar says that for the 4th month in a row, Russia is failing mobilization, fulfilling just 60 up to 75% of the plan. And the balance of arrived and departed to the afterworld is negative for Russians, which is good. And Russians are not only failing in Ukraine, but also in African country of Mali. There was a counteroffensive of Al-Qaeda-affiliated Tuaregs, and they captured Kidal city completely. Also, there were the fights in the capital city of Mali, but there is no evidence that the fight was successful. However, in Kidal city, Russian army failed to protect it together with the local militants. Tuaregs even shot down one of the Russian helicopters. Our helicopter was lost in Africa. The crew and mobile fire team on board were killed. The preliminary cause is external fire SAM, internal memory to the fallen soldiers. So fire team means assault team of the Russian forces together with the pilots and helicopter were downed. We have this information from the fighter bomber affiliated with the Russian Air Force. There are more videos coming showing the most versatile vehicles out there in Africa, Toyota Land Cruiser, and some of the rebels of Kidal city. They captured militants who were fighting for official authorities who cooperate with the Russians. And as the Russian sides are saying, there was the agreement between those Al-Qaeda-affiliated Tuaregs and Russian army or Russian mercenaries to spare the lives for Russians. As exchange, Russians will not resist and just leave the city. And that tells a lot about Russian army protection, yeah? And here we have the visual confirmation of the Russian downed helicopter. It was a big kaput and kaboom. And here we have a Russian map, so the city of Kidal is under rebel control, and actually I'm not saying that they are good. I'm in favor of both of the sides. Let them clash between each other because they're weakening themselves. And those Russians who are fighting in Africa, they could have fought in Ukraine, so if they are KA because of those clashes, it is good for Ukraine in general. So according to the latest information in Diema and Bamako is the capital city where the fights were happening, and in Mopti there was the counterattack of the government forces together with Russians, and rebels left this place before they entered the city. In Gao the situation is kind of similar. In Mali there are so many those crazy fanatic groups, government forces, Russian forces, and now it's the chaos there. But the thing is that Russians have losses, and even with their Wagner army, well, what is remained of Wagner, they're not capable to control the situation. They were ambushed lots of the times in Mali before, and now they cannot secure the cities.
It'll be funny, it'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room.
Yeah, shots fired. There was one more, some sort of the assassination attempt on Donald Trump or people who were with him during the last night's event, and I don't want to say a lot about this one on this channel, but I filmed a separate video about that one, and you may check out my another channel. It's called Captain Dennis. It's not concentrated on specific topic, it's off top about everything, and I filmed about that event that happened the last night. I called the video "Was It Staged?" Yeah, so guys, please check out my channel if you are interested in that too. Well, it's all what I want to say for today, and thank you so much guys for watching me and for supporting me, for example, on Patreon. Please support if you can. The link for my Patreon is in the video description right below, and also you may do it on channel membership by pressing button join. You are making this content possible. Thank you so much for your kind support. And guys, please don't forget to press like to this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.